I smoothed the silk sleeve of my blouse as I leaned back into the leather chair, the city's skyline glittering through the glass wall behind me. From up here, Manhattan looks almost fragile, like a toy set arranged neatly on the floor of a child's room. Funny, isn't it? That's where it all began.
A toy.
My phone buzzes on the desk, its vibration cutting through the quiet hum of the office. I glance at the screen. Mom calling. My chest tightens, though my face remains calm. To my team, I'm composed, decisive, the kind of woman people turn toward when things are falling apart. But one name flashing on a phone screen can still unravel me. I let it ring, and my reflection in the glass catches my eye, my hair perfectly smoothed, my lipstick intact. No one here knows how messy things used to be, how something so small, so ridiculous in their eyes, could fracture an entire childhood. The irony makes me smile. My parents once sold my favorite toy without a second thought. Today, I sit in an office lined with shelves full of them, the very same toys designed, produced, and shipped worldwide under my company's name. And now, after years of silence, they want to see me. I was 9 the day it happened, old enough to remember every detail, too young to understand why it cuts so deep. The toy wasn't anything extraordinary to anyone else. Just a plastic dollhouse, pastel pink with little white shutters that always popped off if you slammed them too hard. But to me, it was everything. It was my escape, my world, the one place where I controlled the story. Inside that dollhouse, no one shouted, no one dismissed me. The little figures smiled, cooked dinner, tucked the kids in at night. They listened. I had saved allowance money for months to buy the add-on furniture set, a tiny couch, a bed with a quilt, even a miniature golden retriever. I still remember how my hands shook as I opened the box, arranging every piece until the house looked perfect. That night, I whispered to myself, someday, I'll have a home that feels like this. But the next week, it was gone. I came home from school to find the shelf empty, the space where my dollhouse had stood now holding nothing but dust outlines. My chest clenched. I ran to the kitchen where my mom was wiping down counters. "Where's my dollhouse?" I asked, voice already trembling. She didn't look up. "We sold it at the yard sale. You weren't playing with it anymore." My throat burned. I just bought the new furniture. Dad walked in then, shrugging. "It was just a toy, honey. You'll outgrow it anyway." Just a toy. The words stung more than the loss itself. I felt my cheeks go hot, tears threatening. "You didn't even ask me," I whispered, the betrayal tasting bitter. Mom sighed. "Don't be dramatic. We needed the space. Besides, it's not like it matters." But it did matter. To me, it mattered more than anything. It wasn't about plastic walls and painted windows. It was about the only place where I felt in control. That night, I cried into my pillow, clutching the tiny golden retriever I had hidden in my backpack before school. The house was gone, but the dog had stayed. A week later, my grandmother noticed me holding it. She sat beside me, smoothing my hair with her soft, wrinkled hand. "They don't see it now," she said gently, "but sometimes the things people dismiss are the very things that make you powerful." I looked at her, tears still drying on my cheeks. "Don't let anyone tell you what's small, sweetheart," she whispered. "If it matters to you, it matters. And someday, you'll show them why." That was the night I made a silent promise. No one would ever sell off my dreams again. Dreams don't grow overnight. They sit quietly, like seeds buried deep in the soil, waiting for the right moment to push through. For me, that seed was the promise I made to myself at 9 years old. By the time I was 18, I'd long stopped talking about toys to anyone. My parents thought I was wasting time doodling designs in my notebooks, so I stopped showing them. Instead, I worked part-time at a coffee shop, saving every dollar I could. I told them it was for college books. In reality, I was buying sketch pads, colored markers, and later, courses in basic product design. College was another battlefield. Most people laughed when I said I wanted to design toys. "That's cute," one professor chuckled, as if I'd said I wanted to be a princess. But one woman, Professor Linda Chavez, didn't laugh. She looked at my sketches, small, detailed notes for modular dollhouses that could change shape, and said, this could actually work. Don't hide it. Her words lit a fire in me. For the first time, an adult outside of my grandmother treated my idea like it mattered. Linda became my quiet mentor. She pushed me towards small competitions, connected me with a local startup incubator, and reminded me that failure wasn't fatal. And there were failures. Oh, so many. I still remember the first prototype I made with borrowed tools in the university lab. The pieces didn't fit together, the colors bled, and when I tried to snap the walls into place, the entire structure collapsed onto the table. My hands shook so badly, I thought I'd throw up. But I stayed all night, sanding, cutting, gluing until something finally stood upright. Wobbly, but upright. There were nights I cried from exhaustion, smudges of paint under my fingernails, ramen noodles cooling beside me. I doubted myself constantly. What if my parents had been right? What if it really was just a toy? But then came the first win. A small boutique toy store in Brooklyn agreed to carry 5 of my handmade models. I stood in the aisle the day they went on display, heart hammering in my chest. A little girl walked in with her mother, tugged on her sleeve, and gasped when she saw the dollhouse. She pressed her nose to the glass, eyes wide with wonder. That moment, her awe, her joy, it was worth every sleepless night. 1 sale turned into 10. 10 turned into 50. I reinvested everything I earned, kept my head down, and built quietly. Online orders started trickling in. Reviews praised the creativity, the durability, the way the toy felt alive compared to mass-market brands. Meanwhile, my family assumed I was barely scraping by. I never corrected them. My social media posts were vague: coffee cups, city sunsets, nothing that hinted at late-night design sessions or contracts signed with suppliers. Let them think what they wanted. What mattered was this: brick by brick, prototype by prototype, I was building something real. I wasn't just reclaiming the toy they had sold. I was reclaiming myself. The invitation wasn't accidental. I chose every detail deliberately: the engraved cardstock, the gold trim, the embossed logo of my company across the top. It read, "You are cordially invited to the grand opening of Haven Toys' new headquarters." Haven Toys. My company. My vision. My fortress built out of the ruins of a pink plastic dollhouse. I wasn't sure if they would come, but they did. When the day arrived, I watched from the mezzanine as my parents walked through the lobby, their footsteps echoing on the polished marble floor. My mother's eyes darted across the glass walls, the art installations, the bright displays of toys lining the shelves. My father kept his chin high, though I noticed the way his jaw tightened. I descended the staircase slowly, heels clicking against the steps, every inch of me composed. My dress was navy silk, sharp but feminine. My grandmother's old pendant rested against my collarbone, the only piece of family I had chosen to carry forward. They saw me before I spoke. My mother blinked hard, as though she didn't quite recognize the woman walking toward her. My father crossed his arms. "This is your place?" he asked, his voice carrying more disbelief than curiosity. I smiled faintly. "Yes. Welcome to Haven Toys." We walked together through the atrium. The displays were carefully curated, rows of the modular dollhouses I had once sketched in college, each bright and colorful, each holding the attention of visiting children who squealed with joy. Their laughter filled the air, the sound of everything my childhood had been missing. My mother touched one of the shelves, fingertips grazing the packaging. These are yours?" "All of them," I said. "From the design, to the production, to the international contracts." I guided them into the boardroom, a room of glass and steel, with a long mahogany table that gleamed under the lights. On the far wall hung a framed piece, not a painting, but a shadow box holding the tiny golden retriever figurine I had saved from the dollhouse all those years ago. My father followed my gaze, his brow furrowed. "That looks familiar." "It should," I replied softly. "It's the only part of my toy you didn't sell." The silence that followed was thick, heavy. My mother's lips parted, but no words came out. My father finally cleared his throat. You're telling me this entire company came from that? I leaned forward, resting my palms on the table. Yes. You thought it was just a toy, but it was my dream, my sanctuary, my beginning. And now, I own the company that makes it. Their reactions split them in two. My mother's eyes brimmed with tears, guilt written across her face. My father's expression hardened, pride battling shame in his eyes. He wanted to argue, to downplay, to find a way to strip the moment of its weight, but the truth hung in the air, undeniable. Behind me, the city's skyline glowed through the glass. My reflection stood tall, framed by skyscrapers, not the frightened little girl clutching a pillow. I let the silence stretch, giving them space to see, not just the office, not just the toys, but the woman I had become. You see, I said at last, my voice steady, you sold my toy, but you didn't sell my vision. You couldn't. And now, every child who picks up one of these houses gets to feel the joy you thought was disposable. My mother covered her mouth with her hand. My father sat down, the weight of it all sinking in. For once, I didn't rush to fill the silence. I had waited my whole life for this moment. And it was mine. I let them sit there for a long moment, both of them staring at the gleaming table, the skyline beyond, the toys that had built this empire. For years, I had carried their words like stones in my chest. Just a toy, don't be dramatic. It doesn't matter. But now I had the power to decide what came next. My father finally broke the silence. So, what do you want from us? An apology. His tone carried the same edge it always had, the one that dared me to challenge him. I met his eyes without flinching. I don't need an apology. I don't need anything from you. The question is, do you want to be part of my life now? Because if you do, there are conditions. My mother shifted uneasily. Conditions? Yes, I said firmly, my voice calm but unwavering. If you want to have a relationship with me, then you need to learn to respect me. No dismissing, no belittling, no pretending my dreams are worthless. That ends here. My father scoffed under his breath, but I leaned closer. And, Dad, if you can't do that, then you don't get access to this world I've built. You don't get to stand here and claim pride in something you tried to bury. He clenched his jaw, but said nothing. My mother reached across the table, her hand trembling. What about me? I softened my tone, though not my boundaries. Mom, you stayed silent too many times. You let him decide that my feelings were dramatic. If you want to be in my life, you'll have to find your voice. No more silence when it matters. Her eyes filled with tears. I can try. I nodded. That's all I'm asking, for effort. For growth. I stood and walked to the shadow box on the wall, letting my fingers graze the glass. The little golden retriever sat frozen in time, a reminder of both loss and survival. This company is built on more than toys. It's built on the idea that children deserve to dream, that no one gets to decide what matters to them. I turned back to face them. If you want to stand beside me, then you need to start living by that principle too. No more tearing down. No more control. Only respect. The room was heavy, their silence speaking volumes. Those are my terms, I finished. It's not revenge. It's not punishment. It's choice. Yours. For the first time, my father looked away from me. His shoulders sagged, pride cracking just enough for the truth to seep in. My mother nodded slowly, tears streaking her cheeks. I didn't hug them. I didn't offer false comfort. I simply gave them the space to decide whether they would rise to meet me or remain in the shadows of the past. For the first time in my life, I wasn't the little girl begging to be seen. I was the woman setting the terms. Change doesn't happen overnight. But over the weeks that followed, I began to see small cracks in the armor my parents had worn my whole life. My father, once too proud to admit fault, called me one evening. Not to argue, not to diminish, but to ask a question. How did you come up with the modular designs? His tone was cautious, but genuine. For the first time, he wasn't pretending to know better. He was listening. My mother started sending me articles about women entrepreneurs, sometimes accompanied by short notes. This reminded me of you. I'm proud. The words were clumsy, unfamiliar, but real. She had found her voice, even if it wavered at first. I kept my boundaries. I didn't let them slip back into old patterns. But I gave them room to try. Because deep down, I wasn't just rebuilding toys. I was rebuilding myself and maybe, just maybe, the broken parts of us as well. One evening, after a long board meeting, I sat alone in my office. The city glittered outside the window, the same skyline that had once felt impossibly far away. I opened the shadow box and held the tiny golden retriever in my hand. Its paint was chipped, its edges worn, but it carried every ounce of my journey. I closed my eyes and remembered my grandmother's voice. If it matters to you, it matters. Someday, you'll show them why. She had been right. I had shown them, not with anger, not with vengeance, but with resilience, creation, and the quiet strength of refusing to let anyone define my worth. I placed the toy back into its glass case, locking it gently, as if tucking a child into bed. The little girl inside me, the one who cried into her pillow that night, had finally found peace. I turned off the lights, the office bathed in the golden glow of the city. And as I walked toward the door, my heels echoing across the marble, one thought settled in my chest with absolute clarity. They once sold my toy, but now I own the company that makes it.